This is one of the most vulnerable videos that I've recorded to date, but I believe it's an important one as I feel this innate desire to let you in on my own personal process, on my healing journey. We all have these moments, whether it's physical, mental, emotional ailments that we deal with in our lives, that support us in becoming more of who we truly are. And that's what psoriasis has been for me. It's been a journey that has spanned over 20 plus years and has taken me down many rabbit holes within myself to reveal ultimately more of myself, more of my true self. But all of the things that I've allowed to get in the way of being fully seen, of being fully me. And so whether you're dealing with some level of skin condition or not, or any other illness, this video is for you, as I'm going to dive deep into not only the symbolism of the skin and what I've discovered along my journey, but also the symbolism of dis-ease in general and the way in which we treat and react to dis-ease is actually quite backwards. And so I'm going to reveal all of what I've discovered and hopefully illuminate some wisdom and some knowledge for you to take with you on your journey. So let's dive in. So for me personally, psoriasis was never just about my skin. It was about my soul speaking through my body. A message that I couldn't translate or I ignored for years, which is I didn't really ever feel fully safe and fully seen in myself, or at least didn't allow myself to. So for those of you that don't know what psoriasis is, it's essentially this dry, flaky, itchy, red, inflamed skin. And this has created these different lesions on my elbows, on my knees, on my legs, and have gone on a deep inward journey and experience uncovering all of these things of what this was showing me. And I realized over the years that this was a way for me to protect myself, to have boundaries, because your skin is the point between you and the world. And when that boundary becomes inflamed, cracked, or hardened, it's revealing something much deeper. And for me, it's been really revealing this story of inadequacy, of insecurity, of self-protection, of unresolved emotions. And so as I've gone deeper and deeper into this process within myself, I've illuminated so many things that have provided me a deeper insight into where my fear lies, where my anger lies, where all of these suppressed, repressed energy and emotions lie. And, going through this, again, 22-year process, I've really began to understand who I am beyond what I've claimed to be in my reality, which is this insecure, unworthy, unlovable part of myself. And through this, there has been these sort of spiritual lessons. And some of the lessons, which I'll share right now, really applied to my journey, and perhaps they apply to you. But spiritually, what stories were playing out were that, I feel unsafe in my environment. There's this fear of being hurt or betrayed that I carried with me, a fear of intimacy and vulnerability, a deep need for protection, because if the world truly saw my heart exposed, then that can set me up for disappointment or for hurt or for rejection. And at the deeper core of this was this suppressed anger or resentment that was rising to the surface. So it was just this sort of energetic mix of all of these things. And before I get into the root of where this started and what I've uncovered, this is when we look at dis-ease or illness, physical illness that arises, in our lives. Oftentimes, the Western world wants to treat or to administer some medicine so that the symptoms go away. But what we have to realize is that the manifestation of this physical illness or dis-ease is not something that originated from us physically. It originated from another aspect, which we go through these layers from an energetic layer to an emotional layer to a mental layer. And finally, the last manifestation is into the physical. So on some energetic, emotional level, through the suppression, avoidance, repression of our emotions, of our shadow, then the flare-ups of whatever dis-ease or illness that happens in the body, that begins to show up over time. And even we can correlate this to traditional Chinese medicine. If you look at a traditional Chinese medicine, there's an emotion that's associated with the different aspects of the body. For example, grief, sadness is correlated with the lungs. And so we've seen this, stories time and time again. I've even worked with people with this exact story where they developed a lesion of cancer within their lung space, never been a smoker in their life, and always took care of themselves, but now they have this cancerous lesion in their lungs. Well, when we trace it back far enough, we find that there is some level of sadness, unprocessed sadness or grief. Perhaps this is from a death of a loved one or some other traumatic event that we didn't allow ourselves to process. We can look into the kidneys and look at fear. We can look into the liver and look at anger. We can look into the spleen and look at worry. All of the manifestations of these emotions, they place themselves in various parts of the body. And so when we look at it from this higher level, we can begin to reverse engineer the process and go on this healing journey where we begin to confront the deeper parts of ourselves, our emotions, our shadows, our darkness, all of the things that we've pushed aside. And within a safe space and environment, whether that's working with a coach, whether that's working with in a group setting, whatever that might be for you, when you can start to go into your own inner world and look at these things, that's when you begin to experience the deep level of healing. It doesn't mean to ignore the physical. Of course, taking care of ourselves, eating the right food, getting movement, exercising, breathing, all of these things are very important and crucial to the healing process. But we must look on the energetic and emotional level. And so for me personally, this started back when I was about 18 years old. So I was 18 years old, and I traced all of this back to a specific relationship that I had, a relationship that in the beginning was beautiful and wonderful, and I was deeply in love, but that soon turned into angry outburst, emotional abuse, mental abuse. That I really began to take on the burden of another person's pain. And bless her heart and her journey. But at that time, I didn't know how to deal with that. And so I suppressed and sort of went inside of myself and went into avoidance mode, while the spilling over of her anger, of her resentment, of her depression, of all the things she was experiencing were sort of, I was just an outlet for that. It was a projection onto me based on her hurt and pain. And that really set deeply into myself, because as a child, and working within the family dynamics that I had, again, with my mother, her experience of anger, resentment, and the pain that she expressed based on her own personal experience, not with my sister or myself, but in her relationship with my father and all the things that were unprocessed from her childhood, her trauma, all the things that she experienced. This then building up, and I was sort of that place in which it all spilled out onto. And as a very highly sensitive young boy, this was, deeply disturbing and very tough for me. And I've since, of course, confronted that, looked at that, had deep conversations with my mom about that, and really brought in a lot of forgiveness. But still, there was this part that was armored. And so, again, from childhood to this relationship at 18, all the way through 19 and a half, 20, until I left that relationship, that's when I started to see the manifestation of the psoriasis, of the lesions, the dry, the redness, the inflammation. There was a part of me that felt so angry and so upset and so rageful, so frustrated. And I didn't know how to deal with my emotions at the time. So I really just stuffed them down, and stuffed them down deep within myself and didn't feel like I had an outlet to express that. And so, of course, this happened. Of course, I started to experience this on my elbows, on my knees, on my legs, on different parts of my body, even at times on my face. It was a way for me to protect myself from the world and protect myself from getting hurt, from feeling others' pain. As a deeply, empathetic and sensitive person, it was very difficult for me. And so this was my coping mechanism. And of course, as I went on this journey, the first thought was, oh, I need to take a pill, or I need to put a cream on this in order for this to heal itself. But what I realized over time as I dove deeper into my awakening journey, into my healing journey, was that all of this stemmed from this point of disconnection with myself, not feeling fully safe in being myself, and ultimately a disconnection from source itself. And so the psoriasis was just reflecting this inner truth that I was trying to protect myself from a world that I didn't trust. And so from insecurity to emotional contraction to nervous system going into survival mode, the body started to manifest all of this on my skin. And really to the point where I began to suffocate my own light. Now, having been 20 plus years into this journey at this point of speaking to you, there are still modes of myself that go into protection or get boundaried, or and yes, in a healthy way, but also sometimes in an unconscious way. And so I'm still working through the layers of it, but I can say confidently that today, as I sit here, 90+% of my skin has been cleared. And it's because of tending to my own inner self and my own inner world and what I needed. And so when I began to ask myself these questions, what am I afraid to feel? Where do I not feel safe to be me? That's when I began to confront these parts of myself that were in the shadow. And as I loved these parts back into wholeness through deep practice, daily practice, not just through affirmations or mantras, but literally tending to myself, tending to that hurt child within. This is when things began to clear. But early on, when I started to approach this as, how do I get rid of this? Or how do I fix this? Or how do I change this? That just keeps the problem persisting. So the real question is, what is this here to teach me? So whatever it is you're going through right now, whether that's some level of pain, illness, disease, ask yourself, what is this here to teach me right now? That's a truly honest question, and a question that is going to confront many parts of you that maybe you're fearful of or in resistance of. But I can tell you, the more that you approach this from that place of true honesty, you will begin to see how all these different aspects of yourself played a role in creating the manifestation of this for you to wake up to your true self, to your inner power. And so I convey this message and I share this message because all of what I've had to ask myself and go through with myself has helped me tremendously become who I am today. And to feel this open heart, to feel this sense of fulfillment, to feel this rooted sense of self-assurance. It's all because I asked these questions and went on this journey within. And so maybe in this moment, just for this moment, you close down your eyes and you place your hands on the parts of you that are hurting. Perhaps intuitively right away you feel where that is. You feel a sense of tension or constriction. Maybe it's in your heart, maybe it's in your belly, maybe it's on your arm, wherever that might be. Place your hands in that point of constriction, of tension. And I want you just to take a few deep breaths, inviting you to just drop within for a few moments. And breathe within that area of your body, that point of tension, of constriction, of resistance. Breathe and feel into it. Asking, what is this here to show me? What is this here to teach me? What is this here to reveal to me? You may not receive the answer right away. The body speaks in sensations. And then it's our opportunity and job to decode those sensations into words. And so it might be clear, it might be unclear at this moment, but just keep asking that question. What is this here to show me? As you breathe into that spot, into that area, essentially all this is showing us is there's a kink in the hose in our life force energy. And that all of life, all of us, just wants to flow. So when we take time to slow down and to breathe, to feel, and to affirm that it is safe in this moment to be me. I am safe to be me. I am safe to be me. And just allowing whatever wants to arise, whatever wants to be seen, felt, and heard. This is the way that we heal. And knowing that we are not broken, we do not need fixing, we do not need changing. We are whole as we are. We're just removing the obstacles, the barriers, the beliefs, the stories, the identities that are in the way of that wholeness, of that prosperity, of that joy that already exists within. Breathe and feel that. Receive that fully. And whenever you feel called, you can just open your eyes and come back into this space. And just notice how you feel. Just these few moments every day to tune in, taking this time. This will make a world of a difference. And so I hope this message supported you and that gave you permission to be you and to step fully into who you are. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time. Sending you positive energy. Peace.